virtual meeting for December 15th, 2020. This is our last meeting of the year, right, Rob?
Correct.
Wow.
And what a good year it's been.
I'm tearing up.
Man, oh man. I will not be sorry to see this year end, that's for sure. Anyway, this is our last meeting of the year, which is a lot of hard work between last December and this December for sure. Jack, could you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance this evening?
Sure.
Thanks.
Starting, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks, Jack.
Sure.
All right, Rob, could you do a roll call for attendance, please?
Certainly. Trustee Caladarchi,
Here.
Trustee Apatow,
Here.
Trustee Kripe,
Here.
Trustee Dearborn,
Here.
Trustee Swerk,
Here.
President Rintz.
Here. Okay, we have a quorum. Rob, you want to check quorum for the, Rob or Kristen, who's ever
Sure.
got the list?
January meetings, the 5th, the 12th, and the 19th. Does anybody plan to miss one of those meetings?
Should be present.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Awesome. Okay, public comment. This is the time of the evening where people can address council on items that are not in tonight's agenda, not on tonight's regular agenda, but comments on the help me out here, the other agenda.
Yeah. So any items
Consent agenda.
agenda,
The other agenda.
or if there's comments on
The
the
hidden
consent
agenda.
the consent agenda.
God, I hate this Zoom. I just hate it so much. The public may comment on items on the consent agenda or on items that are not on the agenda this evening. Kristen, is there anybody in the room that would like to address council this evening?
President Rintz, there are no members of the public in the room at this time on the Zoom. And the public comment that we received relates to agenda items.
Okay, I believe one of those public comments is related to an item on the consent agenda.
That is correct. Would you like me to read those at this time?
Let's hear those now.
Okay. The first comment says, I am in full support of Ordinance M21-2020, Restaurant Relief Grant Program for all restaurants that are adhering to state guidelines and not serving patrons indoors. Restaurants that are not abiding by the Illinois indoor dining ban should not receive taxpayer funds from our village. Thank you for your consideration. Signed, Marcia Sutter. The second comment is to the Village Council. The fact that Toco is remaining open for indoor dining and has in fact extended their hours to remain open on Mondays is an insult to every citizen in Winnetka, as well as to the common ethos of the USA, as we all should be collaborating to fight COVID. While every other restaurant in Winnetka, except now perhaps Aboye and 99% of the residents of the village are playing by the rules, they insist on putting all of us in danger by their flagrant disregard of public policy and the common good. Shame on them. Providing them with a cash grant from the village is a flagrant misuse of the tax dollars of law-abiding citizens. The village should be shutting them down rather than encourage their flagrantly irresponsible actions. Thank you for listening, Bob Sutter. That concludes the comments on the consent agenda items.
Okay, and there's no other comments on non-consent.
There's one comment related to the proclamation.
Gotcha. Okay, moving forward, we'll go on with reports. Trustees, I'll work my way around the my circle here. John, any report this evening?
I have no reports, thanks.
Bob, any reports this evening?
No report, Chris.
Okay. Rob Apatow, any reports?
Not today, thank you.
Okay. Andy, any report?
No report.
Jack?
I do. The Landmark Preservation Commission met last week on Monday, and there were a couple of things that happened that were, I thought, pretty important. They hit some longstanding issues in the village. The first one has to do with 740 Ardsley, which is a beautiful house over, I think it's right next door to Rob, as a matter of fact, that has been slated for demolition. And it's attracting an enormous amount of comment and opposition by the village. There are people who are very, very upset. This one seems to have caught people's attention, as it should. It's a gorgeous house on a beautiful lot, and it appears that it perhaps, we don't know, but it looks like the purchaser had sort of maybe sold a bill of goods potentially to the sellers, indicating that they were thinking of preserving the property, but so but they've now come in and said they want to demolish, and the effect on that particular neighborhood looks like it's going to be huge. And again, I think Rob could probably speak to it more pointedly because it's his neighbor. So that came up, and we continued that over until the first week in January for presentation. There's apparently we're going to get a commentary somewhere on the level of One Winnetka in terms of people's upset and objection to this. And Ardsley, 740 Ardsley is really sort of representative of what's been going on in the village, which I've been watching as the liaison to the Landmark Preservation Commission for my 18 months on it. And so that's which I'll address in just a sec. The other two houses, the other properties that came up it's all part of the Park District swap that's going on down at Centennial Park. There are two properties directly south of Centennial that are the purchaser has come in, bought those two houses, and then bought a property in between Elder Lane and Centennial, and swapped the property in between Elder Lane and Centennial with the Park District in order to get 70 feet of the south end of Centennial Park. The two properties that are at the south end here, there's one, it's a 1925 mansion, which, and again, I don't have the report in front of me, but the Historical Society reported that the property is considered to be kind of an iconic or landmark building on the lake. And it's and I haven't seen it from the water. I wish I had a boat and I could look at it, but apparently it's one of those things you look at and you're like, that's a Winnetka property, or that's just something you see and you remember. It's really quite important. And it's a beautiful property in pretty good shape. Next to it, just north of it, is a 1957 or 56 property. The land there was empty, I think, from the 1920s up through 1957, when this 1957 house was built. The house itself is probably not historically or architecturally important, but the purchaser has bought these two houses together, and then they're going to have 70 feet on Centennial. So what we're going to have is a very, very big piece of property, which is going to have some kind of a house put on it. And I'm going to imagine it's not going to be a small cottage. The people across the street on Fuller Lane and Sheridan Road are very upset about what they think is coming. And I think that it's going to be cutting off their views of the lake, a lot of which they bought their houses with the idea that they would have this view of Lake Michigan. And again, I'm not saying that that's a predictable interest. It is, however, an indication of the interest that the village is taking in what I would call the tear down. It's out of control within Winnetka. The third person or the third issue that came up was a developer who's been before the Landmark Preservation Commission before. And he and his brother, his first name is Jack, and I can't remember his last name, starts with a K. He actually was interesting. I questioned him at length about what is it that developers, or why do they look at the village in the way that they look at it? Why are we having such a tear down problem here? Including both cruddy houses that need to be replaced, as well as Ardsley, which needs somebody who will take care of it, not a tear down. And although he wouldn't admit this, he is a guy who's, I think, over the course of his career has probably torn down somewhere between 35 and 40 houses. In the village, he admitted to buying and tearing down 7 houses. This is at least the second one I remember in the past 12 months that he's bought. It's not a great house. It's something you look at and you go, yeah, that ought to be torn down. And a lot of the houses he does are that way. So I'm not saying he's the Ardsley guy, but he did offer a lot of interesting information. And basically the people who are buying these tear down, the big houses in Winnetka are people with a lot of money. And he said they're probably in their late 30s, early 40s, from the city usually. They've made a lot of money very quickly. And again, I don't care if you make your money fast or slow, but what it has to do with, suddenly these people get money, and then they want to come and find a rectangle of land in which to put up whatever, pardon my French, piece of crap they want to put up. And they don't always pick land that should be recycled or reused. A lot of times they're picking some of the iconic houses within the village. So the questioning of him, again, Rob, and I think Bob may have been there also, they can comment more. I was involved in it, so I'm obviously a little worked up about the whole damn thing. The reason I'm taking this time to talk about this is that there's a huge problem right now. The Winnetka is the big, fat, easy target. If this guy wouldn't admit it, he said, oh no, it's very hard to tear down houses here. And I'm like, really? Oh, that's news to anybody who lives in this village. The village has almost no teeth in terms of stopping or slowing down or changing people's minds. The ordinance is meant to give the Landmark Preservation Commission and other interested parties essentially 60 days, maybe a total of 90 days, to try to change the mind of a person who's going to tear down what's considered to be a historic house. And I think I'm aware of 1, maybe 2 houses where this has actually succeeded. Poor Louise Holland fought this battle from the 80s up to, she resigned for health reasons on Monday, has fought this battle. There's no teeth in the ordinance. There's no way to save the properties. And again, I'm not talking about saving and tearing away people's property rights. I'm talking about putting some kind of delay in the ordinance where people might actually consider not purchasing gorgeous properties and tearing them down and destroying the neighborhoods in which they go in. Mm-hmm. My imprint, or my instinct about, my gut feeling about the people who buy this is what we've taken to informally calling Nutrier and Dunn people. They come into the village, they buy property, or they move in. They think they're going to stay here for as long as it takes for the youngest kid to be out of Nutrier, and then they're out of here. So they don't think about what they're leaving behind them. And they don't think, and none of their thinking, and again, if you have conversations with a lot of these people who are like, yeah, I'm out of here, I can't afford to live here for longer than 10 years or 12 years. A lot of it is, I could pay the taxes here because it's cheaper than Francis Parker or whatever, Chicago Latin. And then I'm gone. I'm done. I can't pay the taxes after that. So basically, they're gone. Anyways, I've gone on for about this, and I think that the other guys who were there may have another view of it, or may have further to add to it. And again, my apologies for taking so
long. If I can say, can I go? Okay. Sorry, you're muted. Couldn't hear you. Sorry. Yeah, I'll obviously, I am very aware of the 740 Ardsley property. It is next door. My land used to be a part of that land. before in 1971, then when the Bundys sold it to the people who bought it and built a home on it. That is about 1.22 acres. It is, Vicki and I, my wife and I looked at that home with the potential of actually purchasing it because we are that concerned of somebody coming in and doing just that. The Bundys assured us they were going to try and find a buyer that would not know. They turned down a couple prospective, builders that would come in and trash it. They wanted to find a buyer that would preserve it. There are 3 homes in a row right on Westmore and Ardsley. 2 of them have been preserved. I think, Jack, what you're alluding to is the property 1170 Westmore, which was a house that was going to come down. I think Wally Phillips used to own it, but the owner, who I know, bought it and then backed out when he realized how much resistance there was. He sold it for a profit to somebody else who wanted that house as it was and would fix it up. And now it stays to live another, and with Tender Loving Care, it's a fantastic home that they'll love. This owner did come in and gave a clear view to the real estate brokers, to the Bundys, that they were absolutely planning to preserve the house. They had hired a special architect that specialized in renovation and a builder, and that was going to be the case. And only on the last resort would they ever resort to some type of tear down or consider even a tear down. It didn't take long that they changed their mind. As I was told, they're kind of taking a back seat to being for people knowing who they are. They want to do this very quietly. And I think, I know there's a lot of people that are very upset about this. On Ardsley alone, there are 5 homes that have been could have been torn down. The latest being the Nielsen house that I think it's 1122 Pelham, at the corner of Ardsley and Pelham. If the Nielsens wouldn't sell it unless somebody would renovate it. The people that renovated it, the Gordons, did a remarkable job. It is, they knew what they were buying, and they did it with the right heart and the right mind, and they held to their word. This family did not do that. They have taken the time, did not look at this long, and the letter what they have told us and other neighbors is just doesn't really fly. And unfortunately, I want to get our codes up to a point where we can, up to just to the level of our neighbors that protect their communities, like Glencoe and Lake Forest. We are way, way behind them. And I think we need a very quick and hard look at this to at least come up to the level of our neighbors, because that's what I think this community deserves. When people choose Winnetka, they choose it for a reason, not to come in and make it their view of what Winnetka is. I mean, there's a lot of history that we'd like to preserve. And I think, and Jack and I spoke briefly, which is out of 100 homes, this may affect 2 or 3 homes, 2 homes. I think the public realize we're not trying to impede on anybody's rights, but there is a certain character to this village that it'll make people think twice before they come in and with the intent to tear down landmark homes. Thank you. Chris, you're muted.
We're running a little bit afoul of the agenda. I don't want to get in trouble for deliberating on an item that isn't on the agenda. What do you guys want to do?
Chris, can I just comment real quick here?
Sure, Bob.
I just want to commend Jack for that meeting on Monday. He was measured. He talked at length with the developer, talking about Winnetka versus other communities. It was pretty clear where we stood. And, we spent 90 minutes on a good topic in the study session last week on the raised garden bed and the environmental aspects of that. We spent 90 minutes on it. I think that this topic deserves quick attention, and maybe the council can do something in the intermediate term while the 2040 plan sort of flushes out the full landmark ordinance. But we have an issue here that a lot of people feel strongly about, and we should address it, I think, pretty quickly here and try to, I know, Chris, you appreciate this issue. You dealt with it. You have the battle scars to talk about it. I get that. But we've been talking about this. I preceded Jack as a liaison and landmark, and it was a problem back then. And we've got some wonderful people on that commission who are horribly frustrated by this. And I think that this council can't ignore it. I think we have to address it and maybe try to do something here to temper what's going on with our great homes. As Rob said, it's only going to affect a few homes along the way here. So I would urge that we get this on the agenda sooner rather than later.
Okay. John and Andy, you guys got any problem with study session on this?
No.
No, we could do a study session and get more input.
Okay.
I just don't want to put any undue extra rules on someone's personal property. That's my only concern.
Well, then we can get that all sorted out in a study session. I
Right.
think it'll be a really interesting and lively conversation. I will say this, though. I think if we're going to be talking about tear downs, we should probably couple it with a conversation on the second half of that, because even if you make, a 3-year prohibition on tear downs, the issue is at some point some of these homes are going to come down. And the one thing that our community lacks, that every other community that I know of has in effect, is the ability to at least somewhat guide and dictate what goes in the places of these tear downs. So,
Great.
and that's been the
kind of
other issue is that we just haven't been willing to deal with residential design guidelines. And maybe if we could bring that into the conversation, it would at least add something to it and provide some opportunity to think about this a little bit more holistically. Would I prefer to wait till the comp plan is done? Yeah, but I hear what you guys are saying. And, we put our lives on hold for the last year. So some of these important conversations are overdue and happening anyway. So I'll get together with Rob and David and see if, what their ability to put together a meaningful packet could be. And maybe we could even look at it in January.
Is there, Chris, is there, and something, if you could guys look at it, and again, Peter may be able to.
Can't get into any more of the weeds, Jack. I mean, we're way out of line on this already because we didn't notice it. So surprised Peter hasn't slapped me already, but he's actually listening to
it's hard to do remotely.
You're listening to something better on those headphones anyway, I know. All right, Rob, I'll touch base with you and we'll see what we can do. So
That'd be great.
good stuff. All right, hold on here. I got to get my agenda back again. Oh, village manager, village attorney.
No report tonight.
Okay, and village president, I don't have any report tonight either. So we'll move forward. Item number 6, proclamation honoring Public Works Director and Village Engineer Steve Saunders. Steve Saunders has served the Village of Winnetka for 35 years, leading the Public Works Department for 22 of those years. Steve is retiring at the end of this year, and tonight we are honoring him at his last ever Village Council meeting. I don't believe that for a second. With a proclamation thanking him for his achievements during his tenure. I'll go ahead and read the proclamation, and then you all will have a chance to offer up thoughts for Steve. And then we'll see if there's anybody out there in the internet ether who wants to jump in too. Steve, I might start, before I start reading this thing, I will tell you that I feel that this proclamation is woefully inadequate in portraying 35 years of your life in this village. But it's what we do. And, hopefully you understand that there's so much stuff between each of these paragraphs that we could go on forever on. But this seems to hit some of the high points and some of the more important pieces. And certainly a lot of the day-to-day stuff will not be forgotten. So I'll go on from there. Honoring Director of Public Works, Steve Saunders, upon his retirement from the Village of Winnetka. Whereas Steve Saunders began his career in the Village of Winnetka as a summer intern in 1985, formally joining the staff as a junior engineer in 1987, was promoted to Director of Public Works and Village Engineer in 1998, and has served the Village of Winnetka for 35 years. And whereas Mr. Saunders effectively and efficiently led the Department of Public Works, managing the streets, sanitary and storm sewer, public property and facility, forestry, refuse collection, fleet management functions for 22 years. And whereas Mr. Saunders was the project manager for the construction of the Public Work Yards Administration Building, a project that was completed under budget and which was dedicated to the employees in 2003. Whereas Mr. Saunders participated in the Village Hall interior renovation project in 2011 and 2012 and provided critical preservation efforts and necessary upgrades to our historical building. And whereas Mr. Saunders was recognized as the Winnetka Village Employee of the Year by the Winnetka Northfield Chamber of Commerce in 2012 for demonstrating professionalism, competence, and expertise and devoting his entire career to the village. And whereas Mr. Saunders played a key role in the creation of the village's Stormwater Master Plan in 2014, and whereas Mr. Saunders facilitated improvements in the early stages of Winnetka's stormwater improvement efforts, including the construction of 4 pump station improvements at Tower Road and Sheridan Road. And whereas Mr. Saunders was instrumental in laying the groundwork for the stormwater relief in West Winnetka, helping the village secure intergovernmental agreements with Winnetka Public School District 36, New Trier High School, and the Winnetka Park District, and working to secure permits from the Army Corps of Engineers and the Cook County Forest Preserve. And whereas Mr. Saunders oversaw the design and construction of Winnetka's downtown streetscape project, and whereas Mr. Saunders retires from his role as Director of Public Works on December 31st, 2020. Now, therefore, the Council of the Village of Winnetka honors Steve Saunders for his contribution to the well-being of the Village of Winnetka and thanks him for his tireless work to serve our community, beautify our village, and improve services provided to our residents. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
Nice job. All right, I'm willing to yield the floor to anybody who wishes to speak on the proclamation or on Steve. Go ahead, Rob. We'll start with you.
Sure. Well, I did grow up here, but I moved away for a bunch of years and some pretty cool places. Ladue, Missouri, and the Main Line, and Philly, and Palisades in California. And each of those villages, they don't work without somebody that has taken a personal interest in the village, and it's not just a job. And Steve, I've been here now 20 years. I've been back 20 years, which is a little freaky, but we've spoken early on and continually through the years. And you've always been, even when I'm sure I was being a pain in the ass, hard for you to believe, remarkably professional and helpful and thorough. And it takes somebody with that type of personal commitment to our village to make it work the way this village works. And I personally thank you very much and for everything you've done. And I hope you stay close friends with the village here.
Thank you.
Steve, I talk to my kids about careers and making an impact and so on and so forth. And you exemplify that. I mean, you have made an impact. Your heart and soul is in this town. I think preceded you with your family. And unfortunately, that's, people move around a lot nowadays and they don't make that impact. And so I look around this village and Steve Saunders' name is all over roads and buildings and so on and so forth. And, I admire that. I really do. And, we're going to miss you. I think you probably have a great next chapter, if I had to guess. I'm excited about that for you. But this is a tremendous loss for this town. And we know that. And as Chris said, this proclamation is one side of a piece of paper. I mean, we could write a couple hundred pages on this type of thing for you. So thank you very much. We really appreciate it. And I just wish you all the best going forward. I'm excited for you.
Thank you.
Andy, go ahead.
Yeah, I've enjoyed working with you. We've worked together pretty closely the last few years, and you've been a constant source of wisdom and constancy and strength for the village in some challenging issues. As we've kind of gotten into the weeds on different agreements and some of the technical problems, you've never gotten frustrated or throwing your hands up or push back as hard as you rightfully probably could have, given the flack you've gotten from people that have been trustees over the years. You've just been constant. And that's just such a rare thing. I don't see it very often in my day job. I sometimes think about the people I've been fortunate enough to work with, whether it's my day job or in this role over the years. And there's like a small handful of people that go on kind of my favorite list, and you're one of them. Just because, it's not just the diligence and the technical expertise, it's the decency. And I think that legacy will last longer than the streetscape and everything else you did. But I would like to see us name like the detention pond after you or something.
Just one of the underground ones, okay?
Just one of the underground ones, called the sludge. No, I really thank you. I feel fortunate to have worked with you. I feel like it's given me a chance to kind of develop myself in terms of my level of professionalism by working with you. So thank you. And I'm excited too for your next chapter.
Thank you.
Go ahead, John.
Hey, Steve, just want to say thank you. Done a great job at the village, a great career you've had. Hopefully we'll still see you around and still have some input on hopefully wrapping up and seeing all your many years of, other than all the other things you've done in Winnetka, to really see the stormwater get completed. So thank you and good luck.
Thank you.
Jack.
Steve, one of those things that, there's the guy from early Winnetka history. What was the village engineer, Windes? His name is on all the bridges and the big dig and, all the stuff that happened early on. Well, you're that guy. You're the modern equivalent of the guy who had that kind of an effect on the village. The way that we've listed it out in the proclamation. And it's funny, whenever you've been here long enough and done so many different things that whenever it's like I talk to my mom or her neighbors who've been here forever, it's like, they'll go, well, who do I see at the village about this? And I go, Steve Saunders, I think. And it doesn't matter what it is. It's always Steve Saunders. So you're the guy that we, that it's always like the guy who he'll know about he'll know zoning rules. He'll know that it's always Steve. And it's always been as long as I can remember, Steve. So you've had a huge impact on the village, huge. And I think that a detention pond or an underground storage tank, we can do better than that. Maybe, maybe a bridge. We can give you a bridge too, right? Rename the dig for you. But thanks, Steve. And again, unbelievable the effect that you've had on the village. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think we're selling naming rights to the landfill, so that might be all right. Well, hey, Steve, You know, the interesting thing, I was thinking about this tonight, and the one thing that occurred to me is, you know, in the 13 years that I've known you now, and had the opportunity to work with you, I've always thought of you as a coworker, you know, as somebody who is there in a collaborative aspect. I know a lot of times, you know, staff on particularly in governmental units can start to feel a little bit like employees. But you know, the weird thing is that I always thought of you as though you were a coworker, and that's a really important distinction. And I think that it's a distinction that's earned by competence and by your demeanor. You know, I can say from the bottom of my heart, Steve, you are one of the most kind, gentle, respectful people that I know on this planet. And I've always been impressed with how you conduct yourself under less than the great circumstances, including circumstances with me. I mean, you know, just once I wish you would have hauled off and belted me rather than just sitting there being Steve, you know, and that's a big, but that is the sort of person that has been able to take the reins in this village and do it for 35 years in a multitude of positions and opportunities. I think you have really set a standard for the way people expect service in this community. And it isn't just to lay down and let people roll over you, but it's to be firm and competent and kind. And you're teaching me a lot about behavior, and maybe some of it'll rub off on me after a while. You know, you're the one who taught me about how the sausage gets made in this village. The not so pretty stuff, the day-to-day stuff that you guys deal with. And, you know, giving me that behind the scenes understanding of how things work. So then whether I was as a trustee or as village president now, I could go out into the community and explain. And it was marvelous. I mean, you took the time when I think few others would have to help me understand what's going on. You know, you've given a lifetime of service to our village, and I'm just so grateful that you've chosen to continue a life of service. And the cool thing is, you know, the next step is of a much higher order than the village of Winnetka. And I'm envious of that too, because that's a really brave and wonderful thing. And something I wouldn't expect any less out of you going forward, Steve. And you know, I'm so happy for you. I'm sad for me because I know I can be a pain in the rear end, but I count on you so much, and you know, having you move on is not an easy thing for me personally, but I know it's going to be a wonderful thing for the people that serve you in the future. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it. So Rob, do you want to jump in too? I see you're waving your hand.
Yeah, thank you. So Steve, about 10 years ago, I showed up here on the scene, and we were going through a period of transition, and you were extremely kind and patient and teaching me about Winnetka, helping me to have some perspective, and certainly having that institutional memory that, of course, I would never have. And I can say over the last 10 years, it's been my extreme honor to serve with you. We've been through some good times and some tough times, and I'll never forget them. And I can't thank you enough for the support that you've given me, the councils that you served with, and the rest of the staff. We will miss you very much, but we're very happy for your next chapter. Good luck, Steve.
Thank you. You're muted.
You're muted, Chris.
My wife does the same thing to me, and I think she likes it that way. So, Kristen, is there anybody out there in the general public or anything you want to add from whatever?
There are no members in the audience, but there was one public comment submitted by Jessica Tucker. It reads, Dear Steve, I would like to convey my gratitude for your outstanding years of service to our awesome community. Winnetka was privileged to have the exceptional benefit of a public works director who was also our village engineer. In addition to the many accolades expressed in the Village Council proclamation, I would like to add a special thank you for overseeing the cenotaph renovation. This historic, iconic memorial honoring all Winnetkans who have given their lives during military service anchors our traditional community gatherings at Memorial Day, 4th of July, 9/11, and Veterans Day. Your leadership in the renovation of the village yards led to award-winning recognition. Your work with the Winnetka Park District, particularly in the location of its service yard to avoid compromising valuable recreational space, led to an award for intergovernmental cooperation. Supervising the renovation of the Winnetka train station and the permanent placement of the Martin Luther King Jr. Stone Memorial on our village green are additional achievements in a remarkably accomplished career. Leading by example, you established an incredibly dedicated team of professional employees who are also committed to exceptional service. You truly embody the oath inscribed on the wall of village chambers that guides Winnetka leaders. In quotes, in all these ways, we will transmit the city not only, not less, but greater and more beautiful than it was transmitted to us. It was my honor and privilege to work with you. With appreciation, Jessica Tucker, Winnetka Village President, 2009 to 2013.
Great, thanks, Kristen. Well, Steve, thanks again. We really appreciate it. And hopefully I'll be able to physically see you before you leave one of these days.
I will be around to assist with some things. And I could probably talk for a while about how much I have loved serving Winnetka these many years. But the thing that I've loved most is the people that I've served with. Everything that was talked about in the proclamation or that anybody's brought up tonight or in President Tucker's letter has been a team effort. And I've been so blessed to work with so many people that one of the things about Winnetka is almost everybody that works here or works in Winnetka kind of gets it. And to spend a career working with people who get it has been just an incredible blessing. And I hope that I just hope that everybody gets to experience something like that in their life, to be part of a team that gets it and gets things done has been terrific. So thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you so much.
Hey, Steve, I hope you're not going to ask for Christmas off again this year.
It's only one day a year, right?
What do we have? 16 days left with this guy?
Yeah, Steve knows a lot can happen in 16 days. So hang on to your hats. Well, thanks again, Steve.
Thanks again.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
So, we good, Kristen?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, everything else is kind of
Boring.
Exactly.
so. Yeah, whatever. Okay, well, here we'll move on with it then. This is where we're supposed to have cake and celebrate and hang out in the council chambers and tell war stories and all that other stuff. So COVID wins once again. Excuse me. Okay, we'll move on to item 7.
You want to approve the proclamation?
Oh, geez, I'm sorry. Oh, may I have a motion to adopt the foregoing proclamation honoring Steve Saunders?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote?
Trustee Caladarchi,
Yes.
Trustee Apatow,
Yes.
Trustee Dearborn,
Yes.
Trustee Swerk,
Yes.
Trustee Kripe,
Yes.
and President Rins.
Yes. Okay, now we'll move on to item number 7. Does any trustee wish to remove an item on the consent agenda for a separate vote? Seeing no hands, may I have a motion to approve the final form of the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote?
Trustee Swerk,
Yes.
trustee Kripe,
Yes.
trustee Caladarchi,
Yes.
trustee Dearborn,
Yes.
trustee Apatow.
Yes.
And motion carries. I'll now ask the village clerk to read the items on the consent agenda.
Thank you. Approval of village council minutes for November 19th, 2020, special virtual meeting, November 23rd, 2020, special virtual meeting. Approval of the warrant list dated November 26th through 10th, 2020, in the amount of $533,402.23. Ordinance number M21, 2020, Restaurant Relief Grant Program for Introduction and Adoption. Resolution number R76, 2020, approving the purchase of a fire department utility vehicle for adoption. Resolution number R80, 2020, GIS Service Provider Agreement. Resolution number R81, 2020, purchase of a multi-purpose tractor. Resolution number R82, 2020, agreement with Ancura Consulting Group LLC for IT services. Resolution number R83, 2020, change order number 11 to a contract with BMAX Incorporated for electric distribution system work. Resolution number R84, 2020, purchase of 2 water and electric department vehicles. And resolution number R85, 2020, contract with the Okanite Company for purchase of 15 kV underground cable.
Thank you, Rob. All right, may I have a motion to approve the consent agenda by omnibus vote? Up. There's no comment on consent agenda, Rob.
Okay.
May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Roll
Oh,
call
sorry,
vote.
you did that. Sorry.
Trustee Kripe,
Yes.
trustee Swerk,
Yes.
trustee Dearborn,
Yes.
Mr. Caladarchi,
Yes.
trustee Apatow.
Yes.
That motion carries. Thank you. Yeah, I'm sorry, Rob. Once it goes on consent and it's been up there, we can't deliberate.
Gotcha.
One of those procedural issues.
Yes.
All right, we'll move forward to item number 9, ordinances and resolutions. The item A is the 2021 village budget. The 2021 budget was discussed thoroughly at our 4 public meetings and then was introduced with a public hearing on December 1st. Tonight, the final budget and rate resolutions are ready for adoption. And Tim is going to give us a 60-slide PowerPoint presentation.
As requested by Bob.
Oh, my God.
He's setting you up.
Tim, you better take it away here. Go ahead.
I'm going to mute myself. I'm muting.
Thank you.
Okay, good evening. Yes, as President Rintz mentioned, the budget and rate resolutions were introduced at the last council meeting on December 1st. And tonight we are seeking final confirmation. All in, the budget totals $78,280,081, which represents an operating increase of 0.3% compared to 2020. Budget is balanced and the operating expenditures are fully funded by operating revenues, and the budget document is available for public viewing at the library and also on the village's website. The year-over-year annual budget difference for a typical Winnetka resident is 2.1%, or a little under $15 a month. Finally, it took a long time to get to this point, and just wanted to give a quick thank you to the village manager and the department head team for their input into the budget, as well as my finance team, and also thank the council for your support and thorough review. I really appreciate it. So thank you.
Great. Thanks, Tim. I'm just going to ask for any last comments, if there are any, from my colleagues. Anybody have anything to say?
Bob's staying on mute. Nice work, guys.
Jack, 10 seconds.
Yeah, hang on. It's a text from Bob, and it says, ask about page 16, line 48, Never mind.
Thank you. All right. Is there any, go ahead, Rob.
I did have one, and I'm ready to go ahead. Obviously, I know the village, and I looked at one thing on the village, which is on potentially on the security contract we're looking at doing for internet security. And I've looked at a bunch of these things, and if we can find a cheaper way to do it, obviously, the village will continue to look for ways to deliver it as efficiently as possible. It just seemed a bit high, but everything else looks great.
Great.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rob. Okay. Kristen, is there anybody out there in the public who wants to speak on the budget?
There are no members of the public in the audience.
Were there any written comments?
No written comments.
Okay, then I feel comfortable going ahead. We're addressing it first, resolution number R7720. That's the village budget for adoption. May I have a motion to adopt resolution number R77 2020?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote?
Trustee Dearborn,
Yes.
trustee Kripe,
Yes.
trustee Caladarchi,
Yes.
trustee Apatoff,
Yes.
trustee Swerk.
Yes.
That motion carries. Next resolution is resolution number R78 2020, utility rates and fees for adoption. May I have a motion to adopt resolution number R78 2020?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote?
Trustee Kripe,
Yes.
trustee Apatoff,
Yes.
trustee Dearborn,
Yes.
trustee Swerk,
Yes.
trustee Caladarchi.
Yes.
Great, that motion carries. Thank you. The next one is resolution number R79 2020, general fees for adoption. May I have a motion to adopt resolution number R79 2020?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote?
Trustee Caladarchi,
Yes.
trustee Kripe,
Yes.
trustee Swerk,
Yes.
trustee Dearborn,
Yes.
trustee Apatoff.
Yes.
That motion carries. Thank you. The next item is the property tax levy and abatement ordinances. The next collection of ordinances sets the village's 2020 property tax levy, abates taxes on the series 2014 general obligation bonds, and also abates taxes on the series 2020 general obligation refunding bonds. Tim's got a few things to say, so I'll turn it over to you, Tim.
Okay, again, like the budget, the property tax levy was introduced at the last council meeting. It was discussed thoroughly as part of the budget review process. I just want to say that the typical homeowner will see their property tax payable to the village remain unchanged for the 7th year in a row, and that the property tax levy totals $15,161,834 and is a key funding source for the village, providing over 50% of the revenue for the general fund, which is the village's main operating account. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Tim. Any public comment, Kristen?
No members of the public in the audience, nor are there any written comments.
Okay, thank you. We'll move forward. Ordinance number M17 2020, the 2020 tax levy. This is for adoption. May I have a motion to adopt ordinance number M17 2020?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote?
Trustee Dearborn,
Yes.
trustee Kripe,
Yes.
trustee Swerk,
Yes.
trustee Caladarchi,
Yes.
trustee Apatoff.
Yes.
Great, that motion carries. Next item is ordinance number M18 2020, the 2020 tax levy for special service area number 3 for adoption. May I have a motion to adopt ordinance number M18 2020?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote?
Trustee Kripe,
Yes.
trustee Apatoff,
Yes.
trustee Swerk,
Yes.
trustee Dearborn,
Yes.
trustee Caladarchi.
Yes.
That motion carries. Moving right along, the next item is ordinance number M19 2020, tax abatement for general obligation refunding bonds, series 2020. May I have a motion to adopt ordinance number M19 2020?
So
So
moved.
moved.
Second.
Roll call vote?
Trustee Apatoff,
Yes.
trustee Kripe,
Yes.
trustee Caladarchi,
Yes.
trustee Swerk,
Yes.
trustee Dearborn.
Yes.
That motion carries. One more, guys. All right, ordinance number M20, 2020, tax abatement for general obligation bonds, series 2014 for adoption. May I have a motion to adopt ordinance number M20, 2020?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Trustee Caladarchi,
Yes.
trustee Kripe,
Yes.
trustee Swerk,
Yes.
trustee Dearborn,
Yes.
trustee Apatow.
Yes,
That motion carries, and that completes the budget ordinances and resolutions. Thank you.
Hey, Chris,
Yes,
can I just make a comment here? I mean, this
Sure.
meeting strikes me as really a dichotomy. I mean, on the one hand, we're losing the big muscle of Steve Saunders. On the other hand, we pass a budget in really difficult times that is really impressive. I mean, Tim and Rob and the group that put this together at this point in time, given today's circumstances, is really quite commendable. And so we lose, on the one hand, we lose, a person who has dedicated his career, professional career, to this village and made such an impact. And on the other hand, we move forward with, a budget that we can be proud of, I think. So quite a meeting, guys.
I agree. Good stuff.
Thank you,
All the
trustee.
way around.
Thank you.
I lost my place here. Okay, here we go. Ordinance number M15, 2020, authorizing the disposition of surplus personal property owned by the village of Winnetka. This is up for introduction, possible adoption. Every year, the village must dispose of equipment and materials that are obsolete and no longer useful. Here to review the 2021 disposal program is Police Chief Mark Hornstein. Mark?
Good evening, President Rentz, Council.
howdy.
Good evening.
I'll be brief with my remarks. Just three highlights to hit on with regard to the disposal ordinance. One is, as council knows, the last couple of years, we've done some significant renovations at the police department. As such, we have some outdated cabinetry, furniture, shelving, etc., that can go either for auction or in some cases just simply be disposed of. Secondly, we have half a dozen administrative duty pistols, some of which are over 20 years old, are outdated, and it's our intention to have those transferred and sold to a federal firearms licensee that specializes in police equipment. And finally, well, I'm not going to go through the exhaustive list that's on the exhibit. There's a series of vehicles that are from various operating departments through the village that will go for auction. And those are really the only prepared remarks I have. So I'll be happy to entertain any questions at this time.
Great. Any questions for Chief? I do have one.
Yeah.
When you hand these pistols over to this organization, what do they do with them?
So these will only go to a well-vetted, very reliable resource that we currently do business with regard to purchasing this equipment. So because they're handguns, they can be resold lawfully to a member of the public. But we have extreme confidence in this particular vendor because we've done business with them for a number of years, and they're arguably the most reputable vendor in the Midwest when it comes to police supplies. So I have high confidence in any potential transfer of sale that they would do. They would be following all the state laws and federal laws for that matter.
Gotcha. Thank you. All
Who
right.
who do we sell the rest to, like the vehicles and things? Those go, do we offer them to village or residents, or we first, or we just, there's a public auction? It's good to.
Public auction, typically Northwest Municipal Conference has been a common auction that we've used over the years.
Okay,
We also use an online auction service, Bittergy, and they've been able to get pretty good pricing for us.
Great, great.
Yeah, the bad news is we can't participate in the auction, which I'm really still disappointed about.
Otherwise, you'd have a driveway full of police vehicles, Chris?
You'd be like the Blues Brothers, rinse.
If it comes down to continuing my public service or bidding on the Umagog, I'll see you later, guys. I'm bidding on that thing soon, one way or another.
Well, if your
Got another
driveway can
10
hold
years
that,
left
that's
in
good.
it, Chris.
What's that, Rob?
It's got another 10 years left in it, so.
Well, by then I'll be ready to buy, so, okay. Kristen, is there anybody in the public that wishes to speak on this item?
There are no members of the public in the audience, nor have we received any written comments on this item.
Wonderful. All right, first off is just a quick show of hands so we don't waste a lot of time. You guys okay with waiving introduction on this? And 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, we're good. Then I'll move forward and ask for a motion to waive introduction of ordinance number M15/2020.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote?
Trustee Apatow,
Yes.
trustee Kripe,
Yes.
trustee Swerk,
Yes.
trustee Dearborn,
Yes.
trustee Caladarchi.
Yes.
That motion carries, and then the next motion will be a motion to adopt ordinance number M15/2020.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote?
Trustee Swerk,
Yes.
trustee Apatow,
Yes.
trustee Dearborn,
Yes.
trustee Caladarchi,
Yes.
trustee Kripe.
Yes.
And that motion carries. Got the green light there, Mark.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
Great.
Hang
All
on.
right, moving along, item 10, old business, there is none. New business, there is none. Appointments, I do have one appointment this evening. I would like to have a motion to reappoint Ed Woodbury for another full term on the Board of Police and Fire Commissioners.
So moved.
Second.
All right, roll call vote?
Trustee Kripe,
Yes.
trustee Apatow,
Yes.
trustee Swerk,
Yes.
trustee Caladarchi,
Yes.
trustee Dearborn.
Yes.
That motion carries. And thank you, Ed, for continuing to serve our community as he has for many, many years. We
Absolutely.
appreciate it. He does a lot of good work behind the scenes for sure. All right, closed session this evening. There is none. And I just want to say one thing is, you know, it's really a pleasure to be able to come to these meetings and, you know, people who might just look in on an occasion and see us kind of joking with each other and poking fun and stuff. I mean, you know, we do a lot of hard work during the year, and I think this is more reflective of a close-knit group of people who enjoys working together, even though we might not always agree. We always, you know, operate in a very civil manner. And when we got a little opportunity to hang a little bit looser, you know, we deserve that because we're all volunteers after all anyway. I can assure anybody in the public who might be watching this, or that there's no disrespect to the position or to the importance of the work that we're doing. But you know, like most groups, I mean, you're working together long enough and relationships form, and I think it's important that we can enjoy each other's company as well as doing the hard work of moving the village forward. So, but thank you. I need that because I'm stuck in this room. Once in a while, the dog comes up and visits me, and that's about all I get lately. So anyway, well, listen, guys, thank you for a great 2020, and hopefully next year will be a lot more productive from a standpoint of moving this village forward, and we'll be able to get together and see each other in person too. So with that said, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Trustee Dearborn,
Yes.
trustee Caladarchi,
Yes.
trustee Kripe,
Yes.
trustee Swerk,
Yes.
trustee Apatow.
Yes.
And that motion carries.
And well said, Chris.
Kristen.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you.
Thanks.